No, we're good. Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. I'd like to lead us in a prayer, and from the prayer, we're going to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pray. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. McCullum, call roll, please.
All right, Councilman Roberts. President Logan.
Here.
Councilman Hinton.
Here.
Councilman Davis.
Here.
And Councilman Hogg.
Here.
Item 5 is approval of the agenda in our pre-meeting, very short agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hogg. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton,
Yes.
Councilman Davis,
Here. Yes.
and Councilman Hogg.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item 6, visitors to address our council, and these are visitors who have already signed up previously, so I know I've got my sign-in sheet, but these are for citizens or visitors who has already gone through the process early in the week. We have one citizen, Miss Pam Diorio. I didn't know if come on up, Miss Diorio. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Please state your name and address for the record.
Pam Diorio, 13080 Garden Creek Lane, Northport, 35473.
All right, what can we do?
First, I want to recognize your commitment to serve the community. It's very much appreciated, and I appreciate your time tonight. I've been a Northport resident in Hidden Meadows for 5.5 years, and I'm here with some of my neighbors to ask the council to deliver something more than the minimum to the neighborhood, to all the citizens. This realization of not receiving anything better really comes from responses received previously from the city offices. Things like Hidden Meadows is off the beaten path and it's out of our hands are tied, it meets the minimum standard. I was told once by a water employee that the previous mayor, said, stop, we're not doing this anymore, we're not digging into it. Even when I tried to get on the agenda, I made 2 phone calls, got voicemail, made 3 phone calls, actually spoke to somebody, and throughout the month of October, and didn't get a single return phone call. I got, obviously, an email on Friday, 1 business day prior to having to be here, notification that I was accepted to be on the agenda. And our residents who do send emails sometimes feel like they don't get a response from the city. And sometimes they're actually intimidated or afraid to send an email because they'll be shamed on social media. So those are all responses that we've received in the past, but I want to highlight a couple of the issues. Water pressure, I don't know if everyone's familiar, but in our neighborhood, if you're in one part of the neighborhood, your water pressure is so high your pipes burst, and your other part of the neighborhood, your water pressure is too low. They've been out and they basically say it meets the minimum. Well, the minimum takes double the time to fill a cup or a pot. If you're running the washing machine, you can't run the dishwasher. And if one of those is running, you certainly don't want to shower. And I just don't think the minimum is good enough. But John Webb did call. I don't know if he's here, but nice to meet you. But it does sound like he is going to make a commitment to come out and really help the neighborhood as a whole instead of looking at one house by one house. So I had specific questions about that, but I'll get with John individually. But there's also kind of a lack of support to hold the builders accountable for neighborhood conditions, the road conditions. We just have this ongoing problem where the tar just separates, and we just have no resources. It's the builder's fault. Well, it's the prior builder. Well, this, well, that. Well, we need support. Then we just wanted to point out that there's really limited cable and internet service providers available to residents. I actually didn't even have internet for the first 3 years that I lived here. It wasn't available. They told me AT&T was available, but when you called AT&T, it wasn't. All the lines were full. It worries me that maybe it's past or maybe it's still present, I don't know, adequate inspectors to look at the things that these builders are doing. I don't know if you knew, but all of our sidewalks had to be torn up because they didn't meet ADA requirements. and they were poorly constructed, and some of them still aren't fixed. Then there are, things that I know that I believe you are working on, like the commercial property eyesores, Laureline Wallace, 8243. It's just disappointing. Downtown is great. I think the city, the garden club might maintain that. That historical area is very charming, but that isn't the way people come into town. Some people are concerned about the lack of lighting on Rose Boulevard, and gets kind of dangerous even turning into the neighborhood, the way truckers and other people drive up and down Rose Boulevard. And littering throughout the city, like, what is wrong with people? Why do we have so much littering? That's pretty much the list, and we're just hoping that we can get a higher level than just the minimum, and just the hope that citizens are comfortable coming to the city, and that we really work entirely through beginning to end with issues together and without the fear of any kind of retribution or even hopelessness. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. DiOrio. And again, I know Councilman Hogg may want to chime in, but I will give you an update. John Powell and I spoke today, but I think one of the issues you and maybe some of your residents or neighbors were experiencing was water pressure as a whole in the neighborhood. All right, so I'll try to put it in J terms. When you look at a neighborhood and you've got pressure as opposed to flow, the pressures in the neighborhood are determined by what size lines that you have, and if those lines are interconnected, and if there's redundancy. I know John and I were talking today, and on some areas of the subdivision, you do have a 3-inch water main. Sounds like a small one, but it's connected to a larger water main. And that may be to where something on the city's end, where the city comes in and we do process of elimination when you're talking about water systems, meaning we'll go in and we'll do a valve check. It may be a partially opened or closed valve that may be having some of the low flows that you guys may be experiencing. Now again, that area, I want to say, has an average PSI kind of where you're located, Ms. DiOrio, 43. And that's about a sweet spot, in my opinion. I know the ADEM minimum is 20, John, is that right? Okay, so ADEM's 20. So if you've got 43, some areas just above you may have about 50, a little bit higher. That's a little bit too high. So PRVs are probably in that area. Is that right, John? Some of them will have PRVs, and that's actually as a fail-safe to stop your water heater pop-off valves and things from getting damaged. So what the city and John's staff is going to do tomorrow, they're going to go through a process of elimination. And again, I can't speak to what happened in the past. We can only try to control what we can do. So what John and his staff will do is go through and see if there are any valves in that particular subdivision and out in the system itself. If they're open, great. If they're closed, you'll see a difference, but it's only going to be regulated by your PRV. And it may be to where after the city has done all our checks, we'll go through and then we'll go individually, and I'll just call the names. Maybe Miss Wilson, Miss Riggs, Miss Britton, maybe to where we go through and say, let us put a pressure gauge on your spigot and the other pressure gauge on that spigot, and let's test it against it. And then after that, we go through and we say it may be something on the private end, on something on your end. It may be a low flow faucet that you've installed where it doesn't give you that same flow. Pressure is still there. It's just we have to verify it's not on our end, if that makes sense. Meaning, okay. And I know you say you talk to John, and John and I talk about it. I'm a water guy, so I get excited about it. So
I would just like maybe just step up, but I just don't understand why things like the regulators aren't required of builders by code. Why don't we do that? Why were proper inspections done?
yes, ma'am. When you design a system anyway, you're going to have to look and see what you have to work with. It may be that system is so high, you have to automatically install PRVs anyway. And because that subdivision where you guys are located has PRVs, or some areas have PRVs, those can malfunction. The ones that do have them, after so many years, that they'll malfunction just because that small PRV, that valve has to close and open and reduce that pressure.
Sorry, you're referring to main ones?
No, I mean residents.
Residents didn't have them.
Okay, so that kind of goes back to
process of elimination where John and his staff will go through and look at PSI, maybe at particular subdivision lots or addresses. But overall, John and his staff is going to flow hydrants. They'll make sure we do a valve isolation check. And if we know we've got valves open, you should see some relief. Although when you say a 3-inch water main, that does give you a substantial amount of water, but it necks down once you get to a 5/8 water meter or a 3/4 inch. So I know you spoke to John. John, you want to add anything just to make sure we can make sure that we kind of keep in touch with staff, just so when you start your process, we can kind of keep everybody up to speed. Okay. Do you want to be the main point of contact, Ms. Diorio? Okay. Does that satisfy residents? I know we probably not going to have an answer tomorrow morning. It's just that's a system check what we got to do. And we may have something as early as tomorrow evening by the time we do all of our checks and all that. The other thing, Jeff, I didn't know if you had something else to kind of comment on. I think she mentioned littering and all that, so we're trying to look at some ways to kind of address that. Looking at lighting along roads, that may be more of a budgetary long-term solution I think you were asking about.
Right, and just that whole road that isn't dedicated to the city yet, that is falling apart, got it repaired, it's falling apart again.
So I would have to go internally with staff to kind of get some more information on that one, as far as inspections and if there are some bonds still maybe standing out there that we can probably require the developer. I'm not sure, so I would have to ask Mr. McCullum to get with staff.
And David Estes has been the point person on that.
Okay. So David, let me do this. Can we just get your number too before the meeting's over with or after the meeting? Okay. Councilman Hall's got it. So we will follow up with you through John, Ms. Diorio, and Mr. McCullum and his staff internally will work through Councilman Hogg to kind of address Jeff as far as the development aspect of it. Thank you. 7A1, unfinished business. It's a second reading annexing approximately 0.9 acres located at 3821 37th Avenue. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. This request comes from Ms. Marie Whiting. She is requesting the annexation of approximately 1 acre. It is located at 3821 37th Avenue. This does come with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission and will be zoned agricultural.
Thank you. Is there a motion to grant the annexation?
Motion to approve.
That's a motion by Councilman Hogg. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. McCullum.
President Logan,
Yes.
Councilman Hinton,
Yes.
Councilman Davis.
Yes.
And Councilman Hall.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Second item is a second reading of an ordinance ordering the demolition of an unsafe structure located at 1005 15th Court. Ms. Ram.
Yes, sir. The Northport building officials have inspected the structure located at 1005 15th Street Court, and they have determined that this structure is unsafe and is dangerous to the public health. And they are recommending the structure be demolished. All necessary procedures have been followed given the public notice, and I would ask that you open this up for a public hearing.
All right. By state code, we are required to open this up, open the floor for a public hearing regarding this agenda. So by state code, the floor is open for any member of the public who wishes to speak in regards to this item.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Deborah Brown, 8720 Sanders Ferry Road, Tuscaloosa. I am the broker owner of Deborah Brown's Realty and Construction Company. I am here representing Miss Joanne Brown and Miss Felicia Washington. We're here to ask for an extension of a 90-day extension. Ms. Washington has been ill as her mother's in the nursing home, and we have begun to do a takeoff of what it may take to get this property back up to standards. And so I'm here tonight to ask for an extension. We've been doing a feasibility study as to what it would take to get this house to meet code, and as to what Ms. Washington would do from here, whether she would rent it or what.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brown. And I know, come on up.
Ms.
What we're trying to determine is if if council wishes to grant the extension, Ms. Brown and ladies, we're trying to see what the extension timeline may be. Of course, we know we were trying to at least go through the process of notifying, you know, your family, everybody about it. Do we have you say you're in the process of doing feasibility now?
Yes, sir. A minimal of 60 to 90 days. A minimal of 60 would be adequate.
All right, in that time, I think council, because just given prior history, we've done 90 days in regards to the true property owner. I know Ms. Joanne is the true property owner, and I know you are the true property owner as well. You're one of the heirs. I do know that. So let the record show you are one of the heirs. I know council in the past has given 90 days maximum. That's in a, you know, with the what you plan on doing, plus the improvements based on the checklist that's given from the actual building inspector's office. So that's something that you may want to be made aware of, that if you decide to do this, I haven't been a part of a council that hadn't given more than 90 unless there was something.
90 days is quite adequate.
Would that include understanding what you want to do with it, meaning renovating it back to code? Is that what you want to do?
We're not 100% sure. We're doing a feasibility study, whether or not it'll be too expensive or whether or not it's going to be more feasible to take the house down.
Okay. All right. So you need, what do you need in terms of feasibility? Because I think feasibility shouldn't take more than 30 days. But now once you get past feasibility, that's where you'll have to come back. But I don't want you to keep coming back to council. I want to be able to have a plan, or I hope the council would feel the same way, to have a plan if you decide to get the structure back up to code. Can you get the feasibility done?
Whatever time you give us, we will adhere.
All right, I'll open it up to council for a quick discussion, but I do know that I'm open to allowing it. I just want to make sure that you understand that just having the feasibility, saying we want to do it, we could then go through and say, because staff would have to know some timeline benchmarks. We would have to say, by this time at 30 days, you need to have this done.
Yes, sir.
60 days, you got to have this done. And then by 90 days, I think it's pushing it, but it's almost like you got to get in and start renovating that home back up to code.
Yes, sir. So, per this conversation, are you saying within 30 days you need to have something on your desk as to where we are? We can do that.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I would be open to giving you 90 days, but every 30 days you have a timeline benchmark, meaning 30 days you basically saying this is what we're doing. 60 days is what we're going to do, and 90 we're going to be.
30 days I can have something on your desk. 60 days is quite adequate as to what we're going to do.
All right. So I still want to make sure that if you're coming back.
I understand clearly. You said you don't want this to come back before you again, and in 30 days we'll have something on your desk. If not, we'll know what we're going from within 30 days.
Can you work in 30 days?
I can work in 30 days.
All right. Council, I didn't know if that was feasible. Is that all right? Yeah. All right. What I'll do next is I got to close the floor, but if any other citizen want to speak for or against in regards to the structure? All right. I hereby close the public hearing. So here's what we're going to do, ladies. I'll move to suspend the demolition and give the property owners, Miss Joanne Brown and Miss Washington, her daughter, and I do know that about full record, 30 days to you work with Mr. McCullum and our building inspector, his staff, and the planning director and her staff to develop your feasibility study, get through what you think you're going to need within those 30 days, and Mr. McCullum will report back to council. Let's see, today is the 4th?
Yes, sir. November 4th.
Let's say December 2nd. That's the next council meeting.
December 2nd. Yes, sir.
So we'll see you back, I guess, or we'll have an answer from Mr. McCullum and your folks by December 2nd, and he can report back prior to. That way, if we're hitting the mark, if you've pretty much got a solid plan, then Mr. McCullum will report back and see what the next steps will be.
Quite adequate.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Before you leave, I know Ms. Ram may have some contact information. If not, if we can get everybody's contact information and exchange it by the end of the meeting,
Yes, sir.
and then we can move forward from there.
That sounds fine.
All right. What I'll do, Ron, in the form of a motion, I'll move to suspend the order of demolishing the unsafe structure located at 1005 15th Court with a 30-day extension granted to the property owner, Ms. Joanne Brown, and her heir, Ms. Felicia